There isn't a lot of time left, but I can remind the Minister at the end it doesn't take long to say yes in response to a debate. So he doesn't need much time at the end of the debate. Can I, and in doing so, endorse the proposal from my right honourable friend, the member for Delyn, and my other honourable colleagues who've spoken this afternoon, and the Labour Towns Group, and congratulate them for coming up, turning up en masse and coming up with such compelling arguments, and the other honourable members who spoke. The right honourable member for Delyn quite rightly said this was an opportunity to do something on a UK basis and involve the devolved administrations, and I thought his proposals were very, very good. And he also had very good interventions from honourable friends like the member for Barnsley East and for Ashford, who are no longer in their places, as well as for Castleford and Pontefract. He mentioned Richard II and Flint Castle, and he knows my brother Patrick is an actor who once starred in Richard II at the Globe Theatre, so he's had a little part in promoting Flint indirectly through that activity. The honourable member for Slough spoke very passionately about Slough and put to bed its reputation, perhaps unfairly given to it by John Betjeman, but he quite rightly said that the arts funding tended to be higher in cities than in towns, and we really need to start looking at how we can redistribute resources much more effectively through the arts budget. The honourable member for Strangford, it's always very comforting when he speaks in an adjournment debate. We know things are normal with the world when he turns up. He made his constituency sound like the Garden of Eden in his speech, although I would remind him that's where original sin was invented. I look forward to coming there someday and playing crazy golf with him in Strangford. The member for Bishop Auckland also made historical references to Richard III, another king who met a dodgy end, like the previous one mentioned, and I very much would look forward to a long weekend in Bishop Auckland. It sounds like a wonderful place to go to. Clwyd South, my honourable friend for Clwyd South, gives me the opportunity to say Cross Llanagrigog in response to her remarks. But she was intervened on by my friend for Blaenau Gwent, who's no longer in his place, which is where my mother was born in Nantaglo, which is another town that would really benefit from the sort of initiative we're talking about today. And we had also speeches from my friends from Hayward and Middleton, Batley and Spen, who, as ever, both of them spoke passionately about their communities. And I thought the remark that the member for Batley and Spen made, if you don't see it, you can't be it, is a very, very important remark. And I know the kind of work she does in her constituency is very much based on that idea. And she was intervened on by the member who mentioned Buxton. I've forgotten the name of her. That's right, yes. The health and well-being importance of cultural and artistic activities are so important. We had my friend, the member for Vale of Clwyd, who spoke very passionately about Hryl. And I'd remind him that Cerys Matthews, in her song International Velvet, said, Dargan fyddais, wir baradois Hryl. I discovered true paradise in Hryl. And he reminded us of why. He reminded us to tap into the passion, and he certainly did that in his speech. My friend from Scunthorpe spoke brilliantly and quite rightly pointed out there's going to be quite a difficult job for the judging panel. And he also pointed out the steel heritage of Scunthorpe, which he knows I share in my background. My friend from Plymouth Devonport mentioned clotted cream and whether it should be jam first or cream first. I'd say to the Minister, as long as it's not jam tomorrow, we don't mind whether it's jam first or cream first. My friend from Hyndburn spoke. Great Grimsby also spoke brilliantly about the investment in the arts in her community, which we welcome. Also for Don Valley, as ever, promoted the remarkable list of people from her constituency who've risen to prominence, and they have a very prominent MP as well. And for the SNP, the member for Paisley and Renfrewshire spoke. I represent a city seat, Mr. McCabe, but I was born and brought up in a town, in Cwmbran Newtown, and every time I drive there to see my 89-year-old mother, a song comes into my head as I'm driving into the town. It's the Simon and Garfunkel song, My Little Town. I don't know if anyone knows that song. There's a lyric in that, and it says, and after the rain, there's a rainbow, and all of the colours are black. It's not that the colours aren't there. It's just imagination they lack. If we've got the imagination, Mr. McCabe, and the investment, then, we can do wonderful things. And I think we all know what's happened to our towns through the evisceration of local government funding, through the removal of services from our high streets, from the loss of banks, of libraries, of museums, and all these. These institutions are very important. Let's have a renaissance in our towns. Let's have a town of culture, and let's hear the Minister say yes.